Okay, good morning, folks. And here's a little story on Bounding into Comics about a character from Star Wars The High Republic, which is a new series of books coming out from the wonderful world of Disney, and how their new extended universe, or whatever you want to call it, is coming into form. And fine, great, cool, let's see what we got. And one of the characters happens to be a rock. Now you're thinking, wait a second. That doesn't make sense. How can a character be a literal rock? And it turns out the rock is a navigator for one of the ships the heroes are on. You're like, all right, that's interesting. What's going on there? Let's see what's happening here. So we have these two characters. They're pilots. There's Leox and Byne or Bin. Okay, cool. I'm assuming it's these two. And They finally enter their ship, and they find the ship's navigator, Geode. Standing in one corner of the cockpit was a rock. It continues, about as tall as and slightly wider than Reath himself, dark gray with rounded edges and a flint flaky surface. Impressive as rocks went. Okay, I mean, I don't know how impressive a rock can get. But, some rocks are rather impressive. You have to actually, describe something that's impressive as an impressive rock to compare. Because right now I'm thinking, what the hell are you describing here? I don't get it. But still, it was just a rock, wasn't it? Reath frowned. Sure, this was some kind of weird joke. Sure. So, okay, you can tell stories with weird characters and weird elements and characters that look like rocks, characters that are rocks. Great. Go crazy. You still have to sell it. You still have to describe it. You still have to let the audience wrap their brains around it. And this, slightly wider than Reath himself, which I have to picture Reath, and you're okay. Rounded edges. Rounded edges of what? Sedimentary rock? Like a stalagmite? Like what kind of rock are we talking about? There's lots of rocks. There's lots of types of rocks. There's lots of minerals out there. Can you use some descriptors, please? Adjectives, other nouns. That would be great. I don't mind whatever you want to create. Just give me something I can wrap my brain around. This doesn't help. You're just saying it's a rock with rounded edges. Here's Reath. Okay, thanks, Reath. It's not a joke, Gyasi explained. He's a Vintian from Vint. Okay, yeah, Vintian from Vint. That makes sense. Geode's a nickname, by the way. It turns out you can't pronounce his name correctly unless you don't have a mouth. I'm sorry. What are you trying to say? You can't pronounce something correctly. You can't walk correctly unless you don't have feet. How does this make any sense? This implies that there's some other language that can't be uttered by humanoids or people with a certain tongue, like, this dude over here. Okay, I mean, aliens have different ways of articulating themselves, but a rock? How does a rock communicate and sound if they don't use vocal cords? And why would you even say this? It's like you don't have the capability of pronouncing his name because you're not one of the Vintians. All right, fine. I'm with you. I just have to. Anything that makes you pause and go, what the hell am I reading? What the hell does this mean? Probably isn't a good passage in a book. Gray later writes, Leox cackled as he began leading them from the cockpit into the ship. Yeah, you just wait. But I don't want to give you fellas the wrong idea. Geode's a wild man, for sure. But when it comes to steering the ship, he's all business. So I don't know if he's just kidding around or whatever. But I don't think we can equate a rock with that acts as a navigator. I don't know. Again, I don't know how a living thing, which is a rock, which navigates, can be equated to a wild man. So again, this is two different things. You're just like, well, how do you equate these? How does this relate? How are you giving me an analogy of a wildman and then connecting that to an inanimate object, which is a living thing? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? As a navigator of a ship, how does he communicate that navigation? How does he say, go here, go to coordinate XYZ? How does that work? I want to know, because it doesn't make sense. Solid, you might say. Orla raised an eyebrow. Very well. Let's get a look at our bunks. Okay. Another section of the book, it's revealed that it will be 9 years before Geode goes into its next mating smelt. A smelt. Now, if you don't know smelting, that involves heat and pressure for reducing or purifying minerals from whatever thing you're trying to extract, like the purity of, let's say, gold. So you remove all the impurities from gold, and you're left with this gold slurry. Leox Gyasi is the eccentric pilot of a vessel known simply as the vessel, co-piloted by Affy, hollow and navigated by Geode, who appears to be a rock. Okay. I noticed there isn't any official concept art for Into the Dark's breakout star Geode yet. Here's my unofficial interpretation for everyone's favorite solid stony-faced navigator. Oh. Okay. That's a character. Or at least a living entity who communicates somehow and navigates a ship. They've hit rock bottom, right? It's funny. There are ways to do this. This is just picture. There are ways to communicate ideas that are alien and strange, but the descriptions or the lack thereof is not the right way to describe an alien rock. It doesn't. Something's not jiving here. Something's not connecting properly. Anyway, I thought this was interesting because this is a problem that's easily fixable in talking to your writer and saying, maybe you should communicate this idea a bit more. Because when you have something that's so foreign, or rather so mundane, like a rock, you're like, okay, this is a living entity. Great. Can you work with that? Can you give me some more details? Can you give me sufficient information to make it make sense to an average person going, there's no way a rock is a living thing? So you need some exposition. You need some history on the Vintians. What is a Vintian? What do they do? What's a smelting mating process? Like, what is that? Like, you got to give us more. You can't just go, here's a rock. He navigates the ship. Here's our bunks. There are beds. You can sleep on them. It's like, no, wind up there. Just go back a few bits to the part about the rock. So anyway, I thought this was funny. Thanks for listening. Have yourself a great day.